Okay, everyone. So just a little bit of instructions again on how to proceed with meditation practice, just to remind you to keep the mind on the right track. And one of the most significant things about meditation is to be able to enjoy it. If you can learn to see the positive aspect of meditation, if you can learn to enjoy the simple things in meditation, then you have this beautiful path opening up for you, a path that gives rise to a profound sense of meaning and also a profound sense of release from all the problems of the world, simply by learning how to enjoy. So whenever you sit down to meditate, start out by ensuring that your mind is in the right space, that you have a sense of positive feeling about what you're doing, that you have a sense of feeling of metta in your heart, a sense of purpose of the Buddhist path. And if you have these kind of qualities with you when you sit down, it's like you're starting out with the right kind of attitude. And then you build up from there. You have to start out in the right way. And it's not that difficult to be inspired by these Buddhist teachings, these most profound spiritual teachings in human history. If you understand what you're doing, you can lift yourself up straight away. If you understand that you are in the companionship of other people with similar values, going on a similar path, again, it lifts you up, understanding that you are in the company of good people doing good things. Let that be your starting point. And if that is your starting point, the rest of meditation is learning just how to relax, learning to be with rather than focusing on, because you are already with something worthwhile. If your attitude is positive, the being with itself is easy. And as you are with, part of the thing that you are with is the breath. The breath is always there, always part of the present. And so by staying with, after a while the breath comes into focus because it is a natural part of what exists in the present. And then you allow that breath to grow. You allow the breath to grow by again seeing the enjoyment in the breath, the coolness of the breath, the regular rhythm of the breath, that sense of softness and gentleness that comes with the breath. And the more you see these things, the easier it is to stay with the breath in the present. And so make it enjoyable. Make it a happy experience. If it is not a happy experience, please don't do it. See the positive, and then you are on the right track. And if you can, learn to delight in the breath, delight in these beautiful qualities of this very peaceful and gentle experience of just being with your breath. The mind that is always roaming around is sort of painful in a way. The distraction, the agitation, the restlessness is a pain that goes with that. And the peace that comes with a beautiful, gentle, soft, cool breath is so much preferable. Learn to see that delight in the breath. Just as if you are observing a sunset, observing something beautiful, it is easy to stay with it. In the same way, see the breath as something delightful, something even lovable, something you enjoy hanging out with. Don't grasp it, don't cling to it, but enjoy the presence of the breath, like you enjoy the presence of a good friend. And then allow it to grow by itself. Allow it to come and go. If it wants to leave, it's okay. Wait for the breath to return. And then again, delight and welcome it back again. And make it as natural as possible. And when it's natural, it's easy, comfortable, and enjoyable. And now just spend a few moments asking yourself, how do you feel? And if you do feel that there is an improvement in your mental state, you feel more at ease, more relaxed, more mindful, more gentle, or whatever it might be, ask yourself why that is the case. How does this come about? What does it mean to let go? What does it mean to use your perception in a positive way so as to give rise to meditation? That's good. No, that's okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Pull it up higher. Still high. Yeah, just pull that cord. No, it has to go higher. Yeah. I want to hear you properly.
I don't want to get strangled.
You have a long way to go. Yeah. Okay. Please, so we're going to start it. Is it my turn already?
You're senior.
Okay. Well, let's pull this whole thing a little bit closer. Okay, so let us get started and see what happens. First question, how not to argue about questions? No. No, that's not what it says. Okay, dear Ajahn, is this the correct understanding? With wise attention we can see cravings, ill will coming up, is that what it says? We can see something, cravings, ill will coming up. With and clear, with mindfulness and clear comprehension, I think it says, we apply the Dhamma based on memory to counter these unskillful states, as mentioned, using metta, seeing good qualities in ourselves and others. It's like I am equipped with a good toolbox, then I can fetch the right tool for the job. Yes? So I would say it maybe a little bit differently. So it is mindfulness is what is aware that kind of anger arises, for example, anger or ill will coming up. That is what mindfulness is. And then wise attention is what allows you to take things in a different direction. Wise attention tells you this is not ideal. And wise attention then takes the toolbox, and then uses that toolbox to move the mind in a different direction. Clear comprehension is really just a particular kind of wise attention. Clear comprehension, sampajanya, yoniso-manasikara are two different ways of talking about the same thing. Yoniso-manasikara is kind of a bit broader. It is about everything on the Buddhist path, whereas clear comprehension or sampajanya is more specific to meditation practice usually. So, but basically they are the same thing. It has to be yoniso manasikara to have clear comprehension of full awareness. Sampajanya requires yoniso manasikara, otherwise it doesn't work. There are two ways of basically looking at the same thing here. Yoniso manasikara is defined in one of the suttas, the Sabbasava Sutta, which is the second sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, all the taints or all the corruptions, or however you want to translate it. And in that sutta you find a nice definition of yoniso manasikara. And the definition is that every time you use your mind in such a way that the bad qualities go down and the good qualities go up, that is yoniso manasikara. If your bad qualities go up and the good quality goes down, don't do that, right? This is not a good idea. It's ayoniso manasikara, it's unwise attention. And that is the basic definition of it. It's very simple. Yeah? Every time your good qualities are improving, going in the right direction, you know that you have using wise attention. This is the definition of wise attention. And everything in the Dhamma is about that. It's about improving your good qualities and reducing your bad qualities. That's basically what the whole path is about. That is why the path is sometimes called the Visuddhi Magga. The Visuddhi Magga means the path of purification. And you may know that the Visuddhi Magga is this big kind of compendium that was written by Buddhaghosa. Yeah, it's one of those commentarial works on the canon. It was called Visuddhi Magga. But the real Visuddhi Magga is not that. The real Visuddhi Magga is the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the Visuddhi Magga. That is what leads to purity. Yeah, so there is a Visuddhi Magga, but it is just... usually we kind of take the wrong thing to be the Visuddhi Magga. The real Visuddhi Magga was taught by the Buddha, not by Buddhaghosa. Buddhaghosa means the Buddhaghosa means like the Gosa is like the voice. Yeah, so basically it's saying is the voice of the Buddha anyway. So he's supposed to teach the suttas, Buddhaghosa. But if you look up the Visuddhi Magga, it's mostly suttas, but not everything. Yeah, it's a little bit uncertain. Do you like my kind of Sri Lankan head shake? Bit uncertain. I like the Sri Lankan kind of head shake because it's kind of gentle. Yeah, I say, yeah, maybe, not sure. Yeah, this way. Kind of, it's either yes or no. It's too kind of harsh. You want to kind of go middle way somewhere, I reckon. That's kind of my idea. Venerable, would you like to expand on that?
Because I spoke about it yesterday.
I know. So you had said enough?
No, enough.
Yeah, said enough. Okay.
Between the two of us.
You're teaching me the right way of doing it. That's good. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, please?
You are not allowed to ask questions.
Why not?
Because you're just going to ask me tricky questions and put me in a difficult situation. I know it. Oh, no, of course. Please, let's see what happens. Okay.
Can you, how would you explain like what kind of perceptions fall under the category of Titibhaga Sanya, and how can you distinguish it between the Visesa Bhaga and the Nibbedika Bhaga?
Okay, so I think the way I understand that, yes, the Titibhaga Sanya are the perceptions on the part of kind of remaining, staying at the same level. Titi means like staying at the same level. So you have the perceptions that lead to decline, the perceptions that lead to remaining on the same level, the perceptions that lead to visesa, distinction, and nibbeda is like seeing the truth, penetrating to the truth. And so I think sometimes we want to remain on the same level for a while. You don't want to go forward too quickly. And you find this in the suttas, for example, they talk about attaining a certain level of samadhi. Stay there for a while. Get used to that level of samadhi. Every time your meditation is go better, don't look for the next level up straight away. Remain there. Understand what you're doing. Why is this working this way? Titibhaga sanya. The remaining in the same place. And then once you understand that, and you have a kind of firm footing in that kind of samadhi, then you move on to the next level. Otherwise, you will lose what you already have, and then you can't go higher, and you can go backwards. And there's a simile for that in the suttas. There's like the mountain cow who goes to a nice pasture and kind of grazing and very happy, and then she sees another pasture, so she kind of walks up to the next pasture. But before she has kind of got a good footing where she already is, she moves up to the next one and she loses a footing where she is and it can't go to the next one and she kind of tumbles back down and she gains neither the next posture nor the present one. And so you need to kind of go gradually. So this is how I understand Titibhaga Sanya. The Visesa Bhaga Sanya, Visesa means distinction, but I think here it means the general idea of improving and moving forward. That's what I would understand. You know what kind of leads to a higher or a better quality. Yeah. That's kind of my...
So what is helpful in meditation to develop Titibhaga Sanya?
What is helpful in meditation to develop that? It's just that knowing, whether you need, whether it's time to move forward or time to kind of remain still. Yeah, understand where you're at. Have you got a full understanding of what's already happening? And if you have a kind of a clear sense that you have a good footing where you are, then you move on. If not, you stay where you are.
So familiarity with the state.
Familiarity with that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that Santitati and Titibhaga Sanya would have some relationship? Pakandati pasidati santitati vimucchati. So to stay Santitati, like how Ajahn Brahm says, just...
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. Santitati, so you leap forward, you gain confidence in where you are. Pasidati, Santitati is like you stabilize, where you are. And then the last one, vimucchati, you get liberated in it. So it's kind of it's a beautiful sequence there. Yeah, leaping forward, confidence, stability, and then the liberation in it. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, your turn.
Question for Ajahn Brahmali.
You can answer. You can answer for me. You can be the Brahmali Gosa.
No. Dear Ajahns, so actually Bhaveri was blessed, as it's good to have his head split and his Brahmins got to meet the Buddha. Yes, easy question. I agree. He had good luck, good fortune, good merit.
Another one. Too easy. Another one.
Dear Ajahn, in SN 4623, Taniya Sutta, what is Buddha meant by when you frequently apply the mind to things that are grounds for dullness and drowsiness, it will grow? In 4623, but also I think I'm more familiar with 4651, which has similar kind of thing. When you frequently apply the mind to things that are grounds for dullness and drowsiness. Okay, so yeah, there are, if you look at 4651, it gives more information. So things like perception of light. Like it says, sometimes even to go out and open your eyes really wide and look at the bright sky or the brightness to help with the dullness. But also, there is also moving to an open space is given there, I believe. There are two things. There is what is given by the Buddha, and then there is the commentarial thing as well. So I can't remember which is which. But one of the best suttas for getting rid of dullness and sleepiness, if you feel, don't worry, you are in the company of Arahant Moggallana. There is a sutta where, do you know who Arahant Moggallana was? He was the left-hand foremost disciple of the Buddha, foremost in psychic abilities, right? So in order to become that great, you would have all the 8 attainments and 9 attainments and everything, great meditation. Yet, not long before he got his enlightenment, he was still dozing, right? And the Buddha sees, it says in the sutta, with his mind, like with psychic ability, and then he goes and says, Moggallana, are you falling asleep? Are you dozing off? And then the Buddha says, gives 7 things that you could do to get rid of dullness. I don't think with memory. Do you remember with memory?
One is pulling your earlobes.
Yes, what is that? And there are, like, you can do some maybe chanting. Was it one of those things? Walking meditation, going out and perceiving light. Anyway, we can give you the reference later, but if you look into it, it's in Moggallana Samyutta, right?
Is it?
Yeah. So you can see, even if you want to Google dozing, you will find very quickly that word into the thing. And anyway, that's what I have to say.
Yeah. So that I think the question is kind of what are the things that give rise to dullness?
No, overcome. When frequently applying the mind to things. Oh, sorry, I spoke the opposite.
Yeah, which is good. The opposite is very valuable. So I just
Yeah, maybe I'm drowsy. Reading properly.
Yeah.
Okay, things that gives rise to dullness and drowsiness is a very kind of obvious things. One is sensuality. Too much indulgence in sensuality makes you feel very dull. You must know this by now. One of these things. The other thing is ill will and negativity. These two first hindrances, when you harbor them too long, the outcome is restlessness and then dullness. They are related. But also, too much eating, it is given in there. Like overeating will lead to dullness, because the body will use all of your energy to the tummy and you will feel very drowsy. So this is also why we try not to have an evening meal, like the 8 precepts, like refraining, and amount and kind of food will lead certainly to drowsiness. And also, inclining your mind. This is really beautifully given. If you want more, read 4651 Ahara Sutta, giving rise to, like, looking into, it'll be nice to have a nap. Thinking like that. Or how about, like lazing out, to think about, perceive things like, just jump into the couch and just scroll through. These kinds of ways of inclining mind towards being sleepy and slothful will give rise to dullness. That's what it was saying there. Right? Was there anything else?
No, that's good. I also think that one of the things that gives rise to dullness is focusing on uninspiring things. And there are so many uninspiring things in the world, like looking at the news and seeing what's happening in the world. Most of it is just really uninspiring. And it leads to a mind that doesn't really want to do anything. It feels dull. Or looking at the people around you and seeing the negative qualities in people. Seeing the negative qualities in people is also very uninspiring. The fault-finding mind is a mind that leads to dullness because it is not inspiring. So the opposite is to be inspired. See the good qualities in people around you. See the good qualities in yourself. And then you feel uplifted, you feel inspired by that. And to me, Ajahn Brahma has always been the paramount example of being able to see the good in everyone. I've never seen anyone who's able to see the good in absolutely everyone in almost any kind of situation. And whenever I talk to him, I never hear him say anything bad about anybody. And sometimes I have to remind him of something that happened, because it wasn't so good. And he has forgotten about it. He can't remember it. And I kind of despair, because there's no way I can make him remember anything that happened that was bad. And he only remembers the good things. And that is one of the reasons why his meditation is so good, because he sees the goodness around him all the time. So do the same thing. See the good in people around you. And there is a lot of goodness to be seen. In a community like this, or in a Buddhist community in general, those people who are sincere practitioners of the Buddhist path, there are so many good qualities. So focus on that. The bad qualities, either forget them. If you can't forget them, forgive them. Understand that people are complex, forgive it, it's okay. And then rejoice in the good qualities. And this always gives rise to energy, the opposite of dullness. And in the meditation, it's the same thing. Focus on the brightness of the meditation. Focus on the light. Focus on the positive aspect, like I was just talking about before. That will give rise to energy and things. All right. So which one was the one that had my name on it? Okay, this one. Question for Ajahn Brahmali. All right. In the afternoon session, Ayya asked whether the rising of Maitreya was mentioned in the Suttas. That was you who said that.
I asked you, so they want to know the answer.
Ajahn, I seem to remember it was Digha Nikaya 26, Chakravarti Siyanada Sutta, I think it's called. Am I correct with metta? So this is a very interesting question. First of all, is it correct?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
You don't know her. Okay. So as far as I know, the Maitreya Buddha is meant, or Metteya as it's called in Pali. Maitreya is kind of the Sanskrit version. It was only mentioned once in the suttas, and yes, precisely in this particular sutta, which is like a mythological sutta. It starts off, with the lifespan of human beings going from 5 years to 80,000 years, and eventually talks about the Buddha arising in the future. Only once in the 4 main Nikayas is it mentioned. That's not very often. Now, you can compare this particular sutta with parallel suttas preserved in Chinese language. And in the parallel sutta in Chinese language, it is not mentioned. Which makes it even more uncertain. And so basically, you can argue that Maitreya, the idea of Maitreya Buddha, is a kind of a post-canonical thing. It doesn't really occur in the suttas. The Buddha does not recommend us to kind of think of future Buddhas. That's basically the takeaway lesson here. And so the most important point with the Dhamma is that there are Buddhas arising in the world every now and again. Every now and again there's a Buddha coming into the world, but basically we don't know when. And this idea that there already kind of is a Buddha waiting in Tavatimsa Loka or in some kind of, pure abode or whatever, or what is it called, Amitabha Loka, whatever, that goes too far. It is enough to know that it is a regular thing that there are Buddhas, that there is a specific Buddha like this who already has a name, Does he have the same name from one birth to the next one? I don't know, how does this work anyway? This Bodhisattva called Maitreya. When was he called Maitreya? Even the Buddha wasn't called Gautama in his past lives. He had different names, right? When he became a Bodhisattva originally, his name was Sumedha or something like that. So you can see how, this doesn't really make much sense, this whole idea that there is this Bodhisattva called Maitreya there. So even though it is mentioned once in the suttas, I don't think it is very interesting, and I think it is deluding. The whole idea of Bodhisattva vow, I think, is a very dangerous distraction on the Buddhist path, because it makes us think about the Dhamma in the wrong way. The Buddha didn't teach about Bodhisattvas. The Buddha didn't say we should try to become Buddhas. If the Buddha didn't say it, who has the right to say it? If the Buddha didn't encourage it, why should anyone else encourage it? It doesn't make any sense. All it does, it appeals to sometimes I think it appeals to the ego. I want to be the world savior. It's not enough to be an arahant. Arahant, they're just disciples. It's better to be the one who saves everyone. It's kind of a dangerous idea. And there isn't any path to this. It's just a random kind of, moving around, trying to find your way through samsara. But there isn't any path. The only path is the Eightfold Path, and that you become an arahant by practicing the Eightfold Path. You don't remember the path from one life to the next one. In your next life, you don't know what's going to happen. So I think the whole Bodhisattva idea is a dangerous distraction that leads us down in the no path at all, the zero-factored path, because you have wrong view, and because you have wrong view, there is no factors at all, actually. Anyway, that's my very negative take on Bodhisattvas. So there you are. Okay.
Dear Ajahns, how can we reconcile this profound realization of non-self with the practical cultivation of loving kindness towards oneself? It is developing this inward warmth a necessary part of crossing the flood, or is the modern emphasis of self-love distortion from the something goal? Okay, anyway, interesting. I too have had this contemplation. Yeah, and again, as far as I know, maybe Ajahn can correct me, this idea of like the 4-person method of meditating. First, meditating towards the, no, that doesn't have self, isn't it? Benefactor, somebody who you...
It starts with oneself. Yeah.
It starts with oneself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that is given in the Visuddhimagga, which is commentarial, so which is late. But in the suttas, the Buddha never said like that, right? Buddha never said to do to yourself, may I be well. In fact, when I start to say, may I be well, may I be happy, I find somehow it feels uncomfortable. Not because of any negativity, my character is not like that, but just because that sense of self and wishing, it's not like by wishing you can't be well. So it's kind of somehow doesn't make sense to me. But what makes sense to me is that all beings deserve to be liberated, to be healed from this problem. Like if they want to, right? Whoever who wants to be free, cross over the flood, then that's fine. So saying, and the Buddha's term is sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta, right? In the Metta Sutta it comes up. So may all beings be well and happy. Is that the meaning, sukhitatta?
Yeah.
Yeah. So wishing that, in the sense, it's not by wish it happens, but it's a good feeling. Instead of wishing may beings be punished, or may beings suffer, may bad things happen to my people who I don't like, or the whatever, I don't want to say, various kinds of people who come up in news that you might have not nice thoughts about. Instead, just seeing that, we are conditioned by our past. So we are just playing out these conditions. But if there is a possibility, why not? Anybody be happy and that kind of feeling. So that openness to may all beings, so I am included there, like also a being. So that is much more comfortable because it's for all beings and whoever this person I call myself as well. So anyway, that's the way the Buddha describes doing metta meditation is this kind of universal, either to all beings, or you could do it to directions. So all the beings to the north, to the east, to the northeast, like that you can go all around 8 directions up and down. Again, it's encompassing all beings. So I personally find it very fulfilling and opening up my heart when I do it like that. But what is more interesting about this is this self-care is important. I don't know about this self-love business, but caring for this body, this mind, looking after it is necessary because you have to go through this path with this body and mind, right? So if you sort of ignore and don't look after yourself, then it is not possible to do this path. You'll fall sick and all kinds of problems will happen to your body, and then path gets cut off like that. So self-care is important. But self-love is a term that I have heard in the modern days. I don't even know whether there is a term when I grew up for this word, a concept or this concept. So the other thing is the importance of metta. So, for all beings, all of us, still in samsara, We all look for affection. We all look for love. We need these things. It's our sense of self, sense of ego wants this. We think we like the sensual pleasures like nice food or whatever, things. But more than that is the ego loving, being loved, being respected, being trusted, receiving kindness, generosity. This is even more of a thing that we need. Sometimes we don't care much about, the other things, but this is even more. So there is this very inner need to being loved, cared for, and things like that. But when we try to look it or get it from somebody else, that is when we form attachments. And this is what binds us into samsara. Like when we try to look for it from outside, and then that's a real trap. But when you actually practice metta for all beings, when you arouse those feelings of affection from within, then that need is satisfied. You don't need to get it from outside. We think that we need to receive it from outside. That is when we get filled. But no matter how much you look, this is the disappointments and heartaches and problems that people suffer, right? We never receive enough, or we never receive the way we want it. And we get upset. And all the problems come when we try to get it from outside. But when we build it up in the right way, it doesn't have any problems, no attachments also, because it is universal for all beings, right? So it is a very different feeling, but it is still affection. It's that beautiful warmth that you bring up inside of you. So that is healing for yourself also. But it is beautiful and it opens up the path. There is a very beautiful sutta in Bojjhanga Samyutta, Samyutta 46, sutta number 51, called Metta Sahagatena Sutta. In this sutta, some of the monastics, the Buddhist monastics, they were early to go on alms round, so they go to another group, another sect of practitioners, and they have a little conversation. This is how there were no internet and things like that, so this is how people learned about what other people were practicing. So, and when they were having this conversation, this other group was saying, look, we also practice all these 4 Brahma Viharas, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. You guys, you are Buddhist disciples, you also practice Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. So what's the difference between us? We must be the same. So the monks didn't know how to answer this question, so they remained quiet. So after the alms round, they went back and told Buddha, Bhante, you know what happened? Not just like that, I'm just making it fun a little bit. These guys, they asked this question saying that we also practice, you also practice, so what's the difference between us? Are you interested to know Buddha's answer? Yes. So the Buddha says, if somebody asks this question from you, you have to counter question them with 4. King Gatika, King Parama, King Pala, King Pariyosana. King Gatika, what is the way, what is the path that you develop metta meditation? King Gatika, King Parama, what does it have as a leader? King Pala, what fruits do you get from your practice? And King Pariyosana, what is its end goal? So if you ask these 4 questions, if they are able, they may not be able to answer these questions. Even if they try to answer, then that is where you will find the difference. And he says, the metta meditation in the Buddha's dispensation, yes, we also do metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, but the purpose, the way that you develop is by way of developing the 7 bojjhangas, that is the 7 enlightenment factors. So together with metta, as you develop this metta, what happens? Your mindfulness, sati sambojjhanga, starts to develop, cultivate. Yeah? And then investigation of states can come about. And virya, all of these things will come. This is not the time to go into detail. We'll spend all night otherwise. I have given Dhamma talks on that very topic. If you want to listen, they are in the Santi Forest Monastery YouTube channel. I did this whole sutta, but it is interesting, yeah. So the Buddha says, Kim Gatika. So you do it in a way the Bojjhangas are developed. King Parama, what does it have as a leader? Beauty, the sign of beauty. So with metta, that is the sign that leads. You see the good qualities in people. You see good qualities of humanity. Not the bad side, you see good in people. Whoever, even if the bad guys, they still have something good. So it always have, you take as a leader the sign of beauty. And then King Pala, what is the fruit that you get would be the psychic ability of particular sanya, particular sanya. This is that repulsive in the unrepulsive, unrepulsive in the repulsive, and then both in, it's all the four combinations. So that ability, that mastery of perception is what you get. So already getting an indication where this is heading. King Pariyosana, the end result, is full enlightenment. There is also this kind of myth. Some people say, with 4 Brahma Vihara, you just end up in Brahmalok and that's it, you can't get enlightened with it. But the Buddha says, not only here, also in the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the end result of practicing metta meditation in the Buddha's dispensation is full liberation. But if you fall short because of how you are practicing, you will be born as a non-returner in the Brahma realms, and from there you will become enlightened. So this is where the difference is. So metta meditation done in the Buddha's dispensation is not coming from a sense of self. It's me giving metta to you, to heal you, to get you better, because that will develop your sense of ego. I am the great one, I am the one full of metta, trying to heal other people. That may have been the way metta meditation was practiced prior to the Buddha or outside of the Buddha's dispensation, but in the Buddha's dispensation it's not like that. So this is my understanding of how or what or related to metta. Anyway, sorry I took a long time.
No, that's good. That was great. That was a really nice answer. So yeah, it was excellent. Well done. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next one. Dear Ajads, please let us know a few suttas where the Buddha teaches how to deal with and stop the ill will hindrance. Thank you. Yes, this is really important, and I'm glad you recognize that, because for most people this is something that we should deal with. And the one sutta that I would recommend the most is found in the numerical discourses, in the fives. The chapter of 5 is number 162. It's called the Agata Pativinaya Sutta, the dispelling of agata, which is like ill will or negativity or harmfulness, that sort of thing. And it gives 5 nice similes for how to deal with ill will. It talks about how to focus on the good qualities in other people. That's the first 2. And then actually first 3, and the fourth one is how to have compassion for people if they have lots of bad qualities. And the last one is about how to overcome ill will for the saintly people. So it has all of these things. Actually, there's a sutta taught by Venerable Sariputta, who often kind of goes into the details of things and of what the Buddha has taught in brief. So that is a nice one. There's also the sutta just before that, which is the first Agata Pativinaya Sutta, number 161, 161, which kind of gives a short summary of 5 things. And that also adds a few extra ways, like it adds the idea of upekkha, having equanimity towards certain people when they're very difficult. It adds the idea of remembering the fruits of other people's conduct. So everyone has to bear the consequences of their conduct. You don't have to be angry with them. They will have to bear the fruits of whatever happens anyway. So you can just let it go and allow nature to take its course, and just kind of observe them and maybe even help them because of that. So those 2 are 2 of the main suttas that discusses that directly. I think those are probably the most detailed suttas on that topic. So that's kind of what I would recommend. Venerable, do you have anything additional?
No, I also recommend the same.
Yeah, same thing. Okay.
Heavily conditioned by you.
Heavily conditioned by you, okay.
Okay. Oh, dear Venerable Karunika, thank you for going into such complex teachings. Not sure if I understand everything, but it has definitely triggered an interest. How important is it to memorize the teachings? I feel that committing it to memory will be a good reminder in daily life. Any tips on how to memorize or study the suttas? I hope my right view develops quickly. Okay, quickly. Who won the race, bunny or the tortoise? So you have to be slow and steady if you want to get there fast. Okay, the last thing first. And so, this is really interesting. The Buddhas have given many, many suttas where he offers the technique of learning, technique of applying the teachings. And this applies not just for the Buddhist teachings, but even for your day-to-day life too, if you want to follow a course or something, so it's worldly matters, but it's the same way these things happen. So, so if you know this, then you understand why it is so important, this remembering these things. So there are 5 things to consider. So the first thing is sutta, so listening. Right? So how to listen. So all this remembering a sutta is through listening. And there are many suttas talking about listening. There is this sutta called lap-like wisdom. What's the name of that? Yeah. So this is the kind of people who listen to the sutta, but while the discourse is being said, they are not even really listening. They are thinking, daydreaming, fantasizing. So they were just there. Their body was there. Mind wasn't there. So then completely it's like it was an inverted kind of vessel and water being poured. Nothing went inside. It's inverted kind of wisdom. And there are these other people. They're listening very nicely. They're enjoying the thing. But when they get up and leave, everything is gone. It's like you have had a huge, nice amount of nice, lovely food on your lap, but when you get up, everything just falls into the ground. So this is that lap-like wisdom. So these are the people who go and say, oh, that was a brilliant Dhamma talk. To a friend, they say, so what was it about? Oh, I can't remember. Right? And then there is the kind of people who are like an empty cup. So to an empty vessel, if you pour in water, it will remain there. So if you are interested in remembering the Buddha's teachings, be an empty cup first. Otherwise, if you are a full cup, what happens? Everything just flows out. So also, very often, before giving a discourse, the Buddha says, Tansunata sadhukang manasikarota. What does that mean? Yeah? And I shall speak, he says, I mean in Pali, what? Tansunata sadhukam manasi karota?
Pasisami or something.
Yeah. So that means, listen and pay attention, I shall speak. So this is how to listen. Now you will know this from your lay life. Like if you have spent a huge amount of money to go to a workshop to learn something important, like how to earn more money, how to become rich, or how to become successful, or how to find a good partner, or whatever else, whatever you want to get, if you paid a lot of money and went for a course, how do you listen? Because you want your money's worth, right? You listen, you don't want to miss anything. Even if you want to go to toilet, you will hold. Right? But you will listen so well, right? You listen so wanting to remember. wanting to retain. Yeah, this is how you would listen. So the Dhamma, what is more important? That or Dhamma? If Dhamma is more important, equally or more important, this is exactly, but this is not how it is, right? Or sometimes the talk is boring, or I don't know, and you go somewhere else, then you will not benefit from it, right? So the Buddha says, first one, Sutta. Second part is Datta, Dharana, yeah, that is retaining. Yeah? So Sutta is you listen, and then you're able to retain what you listen, Datta. Vachasa Parichita, that is, you memorize it. So this is where the memorization comes. So practice verbally is another way that, when you did what you call the tables, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, it's called tables, right, in maths. When you were doing as a kid, you did it like that, right? You were verbally practicing it, and then you memorize it. So same is there, right? So Sutta, Datta, Vachasa, Parichita, Manasānupekkita. So now when you have heard the teachings, you have retained them, you have memorized them, so they are now at the tip of your tongue or at the edge of your mind, very easy to pull out when you need it. So then when you hear another discourse, after having heard, when you are peaceful, then you think about it. Oh, in this course, these were the factors. Or in that one, the Buddha gave this other angle. We can do this after the Majjhima Sutta, when you go through all 6, right? If you remember all that and all the explanations, and then suddenly you get an aha moment. Now I understand what the Buddha is saying. I understand how this works. But this, you have to do this mental work, yeah? Manasānupekkita, mental investigation, inspection of what you have heard. So this is necessary, and I have a warning for you. So if you follow AI too much, you will lose this ability. This is a mental ability that we have. This is what we use even to write an essay, an article, or do anything. You use your ability to recall things that you remember, put things together. This is when you get some little insights to write to whatever you want to present. This is how you do your work. But if you get AI to do this, you will lose this mental faculty. This is what's going to happen probably for the future generations. It's very sad, very dangerous as well. So no possibility of moving forward in the path if you do, because this is what is helpful for insights to come up. So it's not only about remembering, but also mental inspection. And when you get that aha moment, the little light bulb goes, a small insight comes in, that is when. So Ditya Suppatividdha is the last one. Then that view is established. Now I understand why, what, how this makes sense. So a little bit of right view goes in, even as a little bit more than knowledge. First it was just knowledge. So knowledge is somebody else's wisdom. So Buddha's wisdom. So you hear, Sutta is first that. But then once you do this mental inspection, it becomes more of your understanding, but then you apply yourself into the practice and you start to get more fruit, then it gets more internalized. This is how right view gets internalized. So for that process, yes, it is important. But of course you don't have to memorize all of the suttas. If you look into the suttas, they are repeated. Many of them are repeated again. The core teachings are not that much. The Buddha says in one of the suttas, he takes up some leaves in his hand and says, what is more, the leaves in my hand or the leaves in the forest? And of course people say the leaves in. So he says the amount of things that I know about life and samsara is like all the leaves in the forest. But what I teach for you is only just like this handful of leaves, because what I teach is suffering, the cause of suffering, and ending of suffering, and the way leading to ending of suffering, because that's the only thing that matters. So the amount of teachings is not a huge amount. So if you are able to memorize and retain a variety of things that speaks to your heart, to your own practice, it is helpful, because that is when you are faced with situations, when even you're meditating, these things will come up. This is how you build up yoniso manasikara. This is an aspect of yoniso manasikara as well. Memorizing and teaching, and then it feeds that sati sampajanya, which will recall them when you need it. So so how to memorize them? So one is what you use even in normal day-to-day life. If you want to memorize something, what you do is verbally practicing it. For me, what helps is actually listening. So if I listen to somebody who I have confidence in, and I pay full attention to it, then I remember. A lot of the sutta references I remember is from Ajahn Brahmali, because whenever in his talks he would say the sutta number, Majjhima Nikaya 18, Madhupindika Sutta. So together with the teaching, the reference also has gone in. So that is how I recall and say a lot of the sutta numbers is from whatever suttas I have heard from Ajahn Brahmali, but also from, there is also another Bhante Vimalanyana who I listen to. He also gives the sutta references. So part I remember in Sinhala, part I remember in English. But just by listening carefully, the sutta number has gone in, and the information about the sutta as well goes in. That's for me. But you can just read it again and again, discuss about the sutta. So the more you use it, the more you will remember it. So this is what I have to say about, and may you go steadily on the path. Persistence, perseverance, and go slow and steady.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, excellent. That's marvelous. I'm glad you're saying this, because you give so much more detail. That's wonderful. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Dear Ajahns, people who complain about the minor differences between bhikkhus and bhikkhuni practice and protocols probably don't know that in Thailand, for example, 50 years ago, there were no bhikkhunis, and women in monasteries had to wear white and wash dishes and monks' robes. Probably true. But due to the incredible bravery of Ajahn Brahm and a few other senior, and a few others, some bhikkhunis were ordained, and the lineage was started again. And now women can practice alongside men with the same benefits and respect. Sadhu, 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 Ajahn Brahm. Okay, so so I don't need to add that much to that. I would say that to be fair, the place where actually it was started was really in Sri Lanka. That's where things started with the bhikkhunis, and there were some very senior Sri Lankan monks who got together with some Sri Lankan lay women. One of them was Venerable Kusama, who was a 10-precept nun at the time. This was back in the 1980s they started out. And there's also a famous lay woman whose name is Ranjani, yeah. She lives in Melbourne at the moment. She's been here on retreat as well. She's now in her late 80s, getting very old. But there's a book recently written by one of the bhikkhunis about her life that you can get hold of. And she was the lay woman who supported Venerable Kusama to get this whole lineage started. And they teamed up with a couple of brave monks from Sri Lanka who kind of went their own ways. And they had some... They went to Bodh Gaya, and they had bhikkhun ordination in 1996 and 1998. And this is what started the whole thing really in Theravada Buddhism again. And what we did in Perth was really the first within kind of the Thai forest tradition. That's why this was kind of considered such a major change here, because it was within the Thai system that this was a big, a new development in a sense. So indeed, it was very good of Ajahn Brahm to support that, and now we have this thriving sangha of bhikkhunis together with the sangha of bhikkhus, and of course that creates a very nice and balanced community with the lay people and the kind of the four assemblies working together like that. Would you like to add anything to
Yes,
that?
Bhikkhuni Kusuma also did most of the research. She was a scholar, she was an academic.
Yeah.
I believe she had 2 PhDs, at least one, in Buddhism and Pali. So she did quite a lot of the research to find out, because there was a lot of things against it cannot be done, it cannot be revived. So she did quite a lot of that initial research, and she was also the one to be ordained first. As far as I know, her biography is also available, quite inspiring to read. So she was one of the pioneers.
I met her as well.
I have met also, yeah. Very lovely person. She's passed away now. Yeah.
She had stayed in a Buddhist monastery.
She did, that's true actually.
Yes.
Yeah. That is correct. Okay.
That wasn't the question.
Well, it was. We answered it. You are doing really well with answering in such a wonderful way. I think you better
you all night
go
if
for
I
it.
answer the questions.
Yeah?
Ajahn Brahmali says.
Really? Okay. Well, in that case, I have no choice then. Okay. Please elaborate on the absence of a soul. How can you identify the set of characteristics that one life form possessed in previous lives? What is the link between the energy forms? How can you identify the set of characteristics that one life form possessed in previous lives? It's like a memory. Yeah, I mean, you have a memory in this life. You remember what you were like 10 years ago. You have a memory of what happened, and you kind of stretch that memory further back. And that's really what it is to remember a past life. It is no different. Actually, it is different. And the reason why it is different is because the memory of past lives requires a very, very powerful mind. It requires basically profound samadhi, like the jhanas and these sort of things. And so it's much more than just a memory. It's like a reliving, in a sense of those. It's like you are there. Yeah? This is you doing things. So it's much more powerful than an ordinary memory. You may doubt your memory, what you ate this morning. Yeah, you can be unsure of where you were a week ago. But with these kind of recollections of past lives, it's like you are there once again. It's more real than your experience right now, because your experience right now, unless you have had some jhana experience, is likely to be a bit blurred and not necessarily very super strong. Yeah. This is how you know that there is a continuation. These are very, very powerful memories that you have, and so there's no doubt that it's a continuation of the life form. The link between the energy forms, the link is just the same as the link in the present life. Yeah, the link between who you were 10 years ago. What is the link? There's just a link, is just a continuation. There is a certain characteristics that kind of carry on. And you know what people are like? They often tend to have the same character during a life. Yeah, it's kind of a tendency to be the same kind of person. The character often changes very slowly, and so it is also across lifetimes. And that's also the good news, because what that means is that any practice that you do in this life, building up the good qualities on the spiritual path, you take that with you into your next life. Yeah, so even if you don't make it all the way to Arahant, it's not everyone will become an Arahant in this life, and that's okay. And then you kind of move on to your next life, and then you kind of carry on. Don't, however, become complacent because of that. Don't think that, I can relax a bit in this life because I will just carry on in your next life. That's also the wrong way to think, because you just don't know what's going to happen in your next life. If there is Buddhism around, then you may carry on being a Buddhist. But what if there isn't Buddhism around? What do you get reborn in the wrong place? In the wrong kind of realm or whatever? Then there is no possibility. So, But anyway, regardless, it is good to develop those qualities and bring those forward into the future. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking about, but hopefully close enough. Yeah.
Venerable Karunika, could you please repeat the 6 interpretations of the questions of Tisameteya? Hopefully got that right. Did Leha, do you have printouts of the notes? You will get them. I can repeat them, but you will get, I did send to Leha all the suttas that I used this afternoon. I didn't have any other notes because I did freelance, kind of free-flowing session, but I did have, so you will get them. But the 6 are, first one is related to the contact. One end is contact, the other end is arising of contact, and cessation of contact is in the middle. The second one is past is one end, future is the other end, present is in the middle. The third one, I don't know whether I remember it in sequence, but pleasant experience is one end, painful experience is in the other end, neutral feeling is in the middle. And the next one, name is on one end, form is on the other end, consciousness is in the middle. And the fifth one, 6 internal sense bases is in one end, 6 external sense bases on the other end, and consciousness is in the middle. And the last one, Sakkaya, that is the self-view, Sakkaya is one end, arising of Sakkaya, arising of the sense of self or self is the other end, and cessation of Sakkaya is in the middle. So those are the 6, but you will get the full sutta. It is Majje Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya 661, if you can't wait till you get the printouts.
Okay, I guess we'll finish off. So what is the definition of Uchasayana? We sit on chairs and sleep on high beds while observing the 8 precepts. Are we violating one of the precepts? Wow, that is bad. That's terrible. Are you violating? So this is a matter of, what is a luxurious bed? And the way that these luxurious beds are defined in the suttas, they are kind of quite luxurious. Ideally, in the suttas, you should kind of sleep on a little grass mat on the floor. That's kind of the ideal. But it's also important to be comfortable enough so you can sleep properly at night. I think many people, if they're given a grass mat and sleep on that, they probably would come out here red-eyed in the morning or falling over in the meditation, and they wouldn't be able to function properly because we're not used to living like that in our present day. So I think it is okay. Yeah, just use the bed that is given to you. And the chairs here, I think they are just about right. For meditating. They are kind of solid. They have 4 good legs. There's no wheels on them. You sit on them with just a backrest. Some of them have armrests. You can see one of the ladies over there with armrest. That's nice. But they're not super luxurious. They are. I think they are just about right. They're comfortable without being luxurious. So I think we are okay. We're kind of within the ballpark. But if you really want to, you can sleep on the floor, Sleep next to your bed. And sometimes that can be nice if you get used to it. It can be nice to sleep on something very thin as well. But make sure that you get enough rest. The point here is to get the right amount of rest. Not sleep too much, not indulge in sleep, but also not sleep too little. That is kind of the critical thing. Don't worry too much about whether it fits the exact criteria of Uchasayana or Mahasayana. That is not so important. Anyway, that's how I see it.
Ajahn, isn't there a sutta where the Buddha says the decline happens with the discovery of the cotton pillows?
There is a sutta that talks about the kind of pillows that the tough people used in those days. They used wooden pillows. So they had I don't know if you've seen those, they still exist in the present day. You can get them in Buddhist countries. It's like a thing you can fold it out, and it is kind of curved, and then you put your head on this thing and you sleep on that wooden pillow at night. And once you get used to it, actually it's okay, I believe. I think I tried a couple of times, it wasn't very successful, so I kind of gave up on that. But they are still being used, that's why they're still in existence. So some people actually still use them. But anyway.
To me, the Uchasayana one is that too much comfort leads to that dullness, right? You want to just jump into your comfortable bed and have a nice sleep kind of thing, and you can't sleep too long. But the other thing is also about status, CEO's chair, is a particular kind, and your family bed, you buy really, with those days there has these 4-post beds and things like that. It is also about your status and things like that. It builds up to your ego. So that kind of thing. So that is not certainly the case when you use something that just good enough for your body to have a good rest. So that's how I look at it. Because I have to use all kinds of chairs sometimes. When you have back problems, this problem, that problem, then you have to use some chairs. So what to do? Okay. Oh, dear Venerable Karunika, could you repeat what the 4 main perceptions hindering the path? We spoke about it first. So the first one is perceptions that lead to deterioration. You got it wrong here. Perception of sensuality. Sensuality is one of them, but the group is called perceptions leading to deterioration. Hana bhaga sanya. The second one is perceptions that lead to distinction. Visesa bhaga sanya. The third one we spoke about, titi bhaga sanya, the perceptions that lead to stability. And the fourth one is nibbedika bhaga sanya, that is perceptions that leads to insight. Okay, that sutta is also coming. The printouts will be given, hopefully. Last question for you.
Okay, last question. So let's see what we have. Last question. Dear Ajahn Brahmali, wow, that's kind of handy. Question, is there a systematic way to read the suttas? For example, a correct sequence? Context. You mentioned that the suttas are like a tapestry, which implied beauty, but also a degree of complexity. Yeah, complexity, but also coherence and unity at the same time. I often wonder why Buddhism has no official book analogous to the Bible or the Quran. Thank you to both teachers for inspiring me to go deeper into the suttas. There are kind of official books sometimes being made, and I remember one of the first books that I read about Buddhism, long before I was a monk, was a book that was found in the bedside table in a hotel in Japan. I opened the bedside table and there was a Buddhist book there. Usually you find the Bible in those bedside tables, but this was Japan, so there was a Buddhist book. And that was the first time I read anything about Buddhism. This was back in the mid-1980s, so a long time, 40 years ago. So there are books like that, but they haven't really quite taken off in the same way as the Bible. And one of the reasons is because you could, I guess, print the suttas like the Bible. The Bible is actually quite a large book. Often very thin paper, very small print. And if you printed the suttas on an equivalent paper and print, you could probably get the Majjhima Nikaya, the Digha Nikaya, and the Samyutta Nikaya all into the same size as the Bible, because it's just the way we print things is a bit different. So basically the Buddhist Bible is the 4 main Nikayas: long discourses, middle discourses, connected discourses, and the numerical discourses. That's roughly equivalent to the Bible in Christianity. If you read all of that, then you get a very good balance of what the Buddha taught. Is there a correct sequence? There is no correct sequence, and the reason is because each sutta tends to be self-contained. The way the Buddha teaches, it tends to teach like a complete teaching within each sutta, and almost many of them, they start at a certain point at the beginning of the path, and they end up at a certain point, often at the end of the path. It is a systematic way of teaching the Dhamma. So each one kind of stands on its own. And as you start to read the suttas, you start to see how they actually fit together and how they all have pretty much that kind of structure. You start, and then it goes through the various steps, and it ends at a certain level. Usually from the beginning of the path to the end of the path. However, if you want something systematic, what you can do is you can read some of the anthologies that have been made by various people, various translators. And one of the best ones is an anthology by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is one of the foremost translators of the suttas, maybe the foremost. And he has an anthology called In the Buddha's Words, which is like a systematic presentation of the suttas. 10 chapters, starting from basic things, ending up with awakening. And usually, as Bhikkhu Bodhi always does, nice introductions to explain what he's talking about, lots of footnotes at the end to explain what is going on. He's very scholarly, Bhikkhu Bodhi, you know. You start to realize, when you read his translations and his books, you realize that this is someone with a PhD. And of course, lo and behold, he does have a PhD, because that's kind of what it sounds like when you read. He uses words. You have to have the Oxford Dictionary over here, and then you read his text over here, and you look up his kind of words on the internet or whatever. But he is generally very reliable. Of course, I don't agree with everything he does, because that's just impossible. I don't agree with, it's very rare to agree with any 100%, but generally speaking, he's very reliable in the way he presents the sutta. So In the Buddha's Words is a great way of doing it. What I also recommend as you start out is to listen to sutta readings, like we're doing here, where people explain the suttas. And we have quite a bit of that at the Buddhist Society. We have also many of the retreats that we do here, like the 9-day retreats, are like sutta and meditation retreats, a combination of suttas and meditation. And to me, that's a really nice way of getting into the suttas, being peaceful, deepening your meditation, getting some inspiration, understanding the word of the Buddha in a more profound way, and combining that with the real practice. It's really, I don't know, I find that a very, very nice way to go about understanding what the suttas are about. Otherwise, just start reading things like the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length sayings of the Buddha. I think that's the best place to start, because they are complete suttas, complete teachings. A lot of the other ones are very short. They don't give you the same kind of feeling. They don't give you the same completeness, if you like, the same overview. And very often with the suttas and the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length sayings, you often get a feeling for the Buddha, how he interacts with people. There's a bit of narrative that explains the situation, all of these kind of things. It gives a very nice, rounded perspective on what is going on. And this is why those suttas are particularly powerful. When you read the suttas, don't need to start on page 1 and end up on page 1,000, or whatever. It's usually 1,000 pages, so don't read like that. Read what you enjoy. If the first sutta is boring, I can't understand. Okay, go to sutta number 2. If the second sutta is equally boring, go to number 3. If that one is equally boring, go to number 4. Even if you only read one sutta in the whole Majjhima Nikaya, because that's the only one you like, that is the right way to do things. Don't force yourself to read suttas. If you have to force yourself, better not to do it, because it means maybe you're not ready, or you haven't really understood what is going on, or it's not your cup of tea, or not your sutta, cup of tea, okay, whatever, not your cup of coffee, I should say, because that's kind of the way I think about things. Anyway, so so do what you enjoy. It's very important to enjoy the Buddhist path, and if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Venerable, what would you like to add?
I would like to add how I started. Even though I'm from Sri Lanka, if you don't know, I grew up there, a Buddhist country, born as a Buddhist. But when I was a little girl, Dhamma was not available. Believe it or not freely, not readily like it is now. It was only 20 years ago it started to come out. We just heard some chanting and all kinds of sermons that the monks were giving, but they were not often anything to do with the word of the Buddha or the suttas. So I only learned suttas in Australia from here. And the first one I wouldn't say from Ajahn Brahm, because Ajahn Brahms were, by the time I was listening to him, mostly was just Dhamma talks. But from Bhikkhu Bodhi. From Bhikkhu Bodhi also has a set of 10 lectures right? It is still available in the internet if you look for 10 lectures by Bhikkhu Bodhi. It's really excellent because it starts also in a good way talking about the Sangha, all the definitions, all the things that you need to understand the suttas, because it's not so easy straight away to even go to Majjhima Nikaya unless you know. Like one of the problems I had, I still remember, 5 aggregates. Like, what's 5 aggregates? Like, that term. What does it mean? I remember it was Venerable Upeka's mom, Auntie Ramani, who taught me, 5 aggregates means Panchupadana-khandha. Okay, what is Panchupadana-khandha? It's these 5 things. So, you have to learn some of this terminology that they use, right? So it's not easy unless you're familiar with some of the things. And then it gets very confusing because Bhante Sujato uses a different set, and Ajahn Brahmali might use something else. Confuses people like me, the English terms sometimes, so you need to also become familiar with what it is and what different people uses for translating it to fully understand if English is not your first language. Even if it is your English is first language, what do you understand if you don't know Panchupadana-khandha beforehand? If you just heard 5 aggregates, what does it mean? Nothing, right? So it becomes really hard otherwise. But if you listen to these 10 lectures, the Bhikkhu Bodhi goes through quite a lot of these factors. And after that, I also listened to, Bhikkhu Bodhi went through the Majjhima Nikaya. So you can follow, so he explains a little bit. So until you get a little bit familiar with all the terminology, the concepts, the Dhamma concepts and stuff like that, then you can start listening more broadly. So I have been also listening a lot to Ajahn Brahmali's Sutta classes from the early days. And like that, then once you have a little bit of understanding, then you can build up slowly. So you need a helping hand. And that is also why listening to suttas, like Ajahn Brahmali said, in retreats, or you have also done lots of workshops. So attending them or listening to them again, you will understand a little bit, because you do need a bit of kind of education on how to read the suttas, any sutta, and then you'll be okay.
The workshops are quite nice because we take one theme, like the Noble Eightfold Path, and you go into great detail with the Noble Eightfold Path. We do dependent origination, we do quite a large number of things actually, and these are all recorded and they can be found on the BSWA website if you go to the workshops. And then we have just did one recently actually, five of us together. So that was really good. Anyway, it's getting late, so let's call it a day. So I wish you all a very good night. Have a good night's rest, and we'll see you back again tomorrow morning. So let's just finish off by paying respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakatu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namah